Welcome back to another episode of your favorite podcast, Deac2Deac. In this episode, I had a chance to sit down with head men's golf coach, Jerry Haas. Coach Haas and I talked about how he develops his players, Wake Forest's rich tradition in its golf program, plus much, much more. Take a listen. Don't forget to subscribe. And as always, go Deacs. Uh, let's see, Coach Haas, this is your first time on Deac2Deac. So kind of let's start from the beginning. Share with Deacon Nation where you're from and what it was like growing up for you.
I grew up in Belleville, Illinois, which is right near St. Louis, Missouri, big Midwestern town. And my uncle, Bob Golby, was a professional golfer, and he played every year in the Greensboro Open. And he got to know Coach Jesse Haddock, the legendary golf coach. And he told Coach Haddock, my nephew is a really good golfer. And Coach Haddock tells a story later, everybody's nephew is really good. And he did a little research on Jay Haas, and he found out that he was pretty good. And so he ended up coming to Wake Forest. And as his brother, being 10 years younger, you know, I idolized my brother, and he was a great, great player. And we played all sports growing up. So I used to watch Prudential's college scoreboard. And they'd always scores like Wake versus Duke or Slippery Rock. You know, there was no ESPN or no ticker tape. So I would just lay there and see what Wake Forest did. So I was always a huge Wake Forest fan. I got to be a pretty decent player myself, and ended up coming to Wake Forest basically almost 10 years after my brother, and played for Coach Haddock and was on the Arnold Palmer Scholarship for 1 year. And then he told me, hey, we got this kid named Billy Andrade from Rhode Island who's really good, and we'd really like to get him, but we're going to offer him the Arnold Palmer Scholarship. Would you switch? And I'm like, yeah, I don't care if we can get another good player. I don't, as long as I'm getting my money, right?
That is important. That is real critical.
That's right. So anyway, it turned out to be great for my love affair here with obviously Winston-Salem. I tell people all the time that, you know, when I went to school here, I knew where the golf course was, and I knew how to get around, but I didn't really know much about the city and the town. And now been here 25 years as a coach and raising a family. And Winston-Salem is a really, really nice place to live. Hardly any traffic. It's still big enough that it's got a nice feel to it. And the Demon Deacon community and Demon Deacon Nation is, it's a smaller group, but yet extremely proud. And we love our heritage. We love our sports teams. Great to see the basketball and football playing so well. And I've told many people this is probably one of the best times of Wake Forest history when you look at all the sports. Women's golf just won back-to-back events. Our men's team is really good. The soccers are both good. Women's basketball is good. So it's a great time to be a Demon Deacon for sure.
So, Coach, what was it that drew you to Wake? Was it just your uncle's influence and his relationship with Coach Haddock? Was it your brother? You still had a piece in there where you had to make that decision for yourself. So for you, what were those things that drew you to Wake Forest beyond the influence of your brother and Coach Haddock and your uncle?
I came down for a visit, and we went to the old steakhouse. It's now Fratelli's, but it was called Staley. They had the big cow out there, and they had the relic tray, and it was really dimly lit. I remember that. And on my visit, my brother Jay came up from Charlotte. He was living there. So we had dinner with Coach Haddock, and they basically said, if you want to try to play professional golf, this is a great place to come, because I think Wake Forest, the one word I use a lot is accountability. You have to go to class. You have to be responsible for your actions. You have to represent yourself well. You know, you're not only representing your teammates and your coaches and the university, but your parents and everything about it. And it's just, every time I recruit a kid, we're almost the outlier. We're a little bit different. We're not big and glitzy and all that, but yet extremely lifelike, if you will. It kind of mirrors what you have to be in life. You have to You have to be self-starter. You have to be a go-getter. You have to kind of have that chip on your shoulder that sure, we're Wake Forest and we may be one of the smaller D1 schools, but still we compete at an extremely high level. So that was the thing I think that sold it for me. And, I worked hard in school. It was not easy, but it helped me prepare when I got out that I can handle life and all the things that come with it.
So, Coach, when you got to Wake, you came in on fire. I mean, you won your first tournament when you got here as a freshman. You went on to All-American, All-ACC. What was it that helped you be that successful so early, obviously on the course and off the course?
I think the fact that my uncle Bob Golby, who was the 1968 Masters champion and 11-time PGA Tour winner, I played a lot with him. My brother Jay being 10 years older, when I was in those kind of formative years of 12 to 18, 19 years old, Jay was already a tour pro. So I didn't see him much. So I hung around a lot with my uncle Bob, and we played a lot, and I practiced, and he basically was my teacher. And Sam Snead would come to town, and I was around the game so much, and playing with my brother every now and then, and I was around a lot of good players. And so to go to college and play against kids my age, I'm like, I was not intimidated. I wasn't. It was just golf to me, and I'd played with some really, really good players, and been around some great golf that it made it pretty easy for me in the fact that I wasn't scared in any way. To me, I was just playing the game that I loved and had a passion for. And obviously I didn't play great every week, but if you didn't, then you couldn't wait to play the next event. And we used to have 36 playing days. Now it's 24. So basically we got in the car on Wednesday at 1:00 and didn't get back on campus till 10 o'clock on Sunday night. And then I would go to the library. This was back when you had to make a copy for 10 cents a piece. So I would load up on my dimes, and then I would go find somebody in my class and say, hey, can I borrow your notes? We've got a test coming up on Monday or Tuesday. And so I would get those notes and I would copy them off and then take them right back to them, because if you didn't get them right back to them, then they might not give you that privilege next week or the 2 or whatever. So I would get the notes. I would just study as hard as I could for 2.5 days, and then get back in the car and go again. And every event was 18, 18, 18, which were 54 hole events, but they nowadays will play 36 in a day and 18 the next. So it condenses it a little bit, but we missed a lot, but yet, with the help of tutoring at that time that had just started, Gil McGregor, the legendary Wake basketball player, he was my advisor and tutor, and they had started a program. So we made it work, and kind of like a round of golf, kind of like a team putting together a winning drive in football, or you kind of had to make it work. And that's what happens during a round of golf. It's not always going to be perfect, but if you can kind of find your way through the rounds, you can accomplish something.
Now, Gil McGregor, the legendary basketball player, he's a big guy. He's a big guy to really enforce that accountability. You don't want to have to answer to him when you're not going to class and not performing well.
Correct. And as a coach today, that's probably my biggest pet peeve, is when they don't go to class because they miss enough already. And I said, you can certainly go for 3 hours of your day on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or a couple hours on a Tuesday, Thursday. Mm-hmm. You should not be sleeping in. You should be attending class and alert and ready to go. And, because give the teacher some respect and, exercise your mind. And you're not always going to understand it, but go get help and go get tutoring and do whatever you need to do to piece it all together. And we all have our strengths and weaknesses. So find out what you're weak at and try to get better at it, because Wake Forest, I mean, if you have a problem or you need help or you have any kind of situation, there is somebody to turn to, whether it's a teammate or a guidance counselor or somebody who will really, really, I feel, look out for you. And our academic services is off the chart. They do a great job of making sure that our student athletes, complete their their mission, I guess, when you get here is to graduate from college.
So, Coach, as a player, when you were at Wake, what are one or two of your favorite, what I like to call Deacon moments that stand out that you remember? One on the course and one off the course.
Man, Deacon moments, man, there's been a ton. I mean, like 25 years. You know, we talk about the Bill Haas's and the Webb Simpsons and the Kyle Reifers and the Will Zalatoris and Cameron Young, who just finished runner-up a couple of weeks ago. And we talk about all those guys in our history of Arnold Palmer and down through the line. But it's the fact that, I guess, Deacon moment, there's been 25 years and only 5 kids have not graduated that have played for me. And
Wow.
it's not one's golf professionally that you see on TV. It's all the others. And, you know, they'll send you a picture of their children that are born. And I've attended weddings. And those are kind of my Deacon moments. The fact that I have had maybe a small impact or an influence on these young men's lives at a time when they need a little guidance. Some need more than others. And some, I always tell the story about Webb Simpson. He came into my office after his sophomore year and he said, I just want to apologize for how I played. And I kind of looked at him. I'm like, well, why do you say that? He goes, well, I haven't won yet. And I said, well, let me ask you a question. Are you a better player today after your sophomore year than when you first got here? And he goes, oh, no question about it. I'm better in every area. I said, well, then don't worry about it. The wins will come and you're getting better every 6 months. And he tells me to this day that made him feel, you know, I was just telling the truth, and it made him feel really good, that it kind of took the pressure off him a little bit. And he actually won later in his career than most kids. He won going out the door, if you will. He won the ACC title, and he won 3 times in his career, and they were kind of later, but you could see his development getting better and better. And shoot, he's made close to $40 million as a PGA Tour, been the US Open champion, and he's been the Players champion. And he's just a really, really solid, not only solid player, but a solid individual. And he, you know, that would be a moment that I didn't realize maybe I was influencing. And yet I helped him at that moment to kind of get over that hurdle.
Well, Coach, you mentioned some names, Zalatoris, Simpson, and also another Haas, your nephew as well. And also you have one of the best junior camps in the country. It seems as if you have this passion for developing talent and developing young people. Where did that come from?
That comes from my uncle, Bob Golby, who, you know, he hung a bed sheet over a clothesline, and then he put a book on the ground, Ben Hogan's 5 Fundamentals of Golf. And he would look at that book and he would try to copy the grip, and he would try to copy all the motion, and he would hit a ball that would go 10 feet and just fall down. And his parents said, man, there's something wrong with our son here. He's out in the backyard, you know, bundled up in whatever weather, and he's hitting these balls into this. But he loved golf, and he shared with myself, and he shared with my brother Jay, and he shared with his kids. And he basically, watching him growing up, he would always give a tip to somebody or try to help them with their game. And when I first interviewed for the job, I told Ron Wellman, look, I'm not here to be the basketball coach or the football. I know nothing about that. And I have never coached, but yet I know the game of golf very well. And I feel like I can help these young men who come here. And a lot of times it's not much in golf. You just need a little something. To me, there's way too much. I underteach before I overteach, because you can really mess up a kid. Especially in golf, you can get too technical where you almost can't perform. Your swing, my swing, anybody we know, I've looked at thousands of golf swings. No two are the same. They may look the same, but then when you break it down, their wrist positions are different. They're very different. So I've kind of let kids develop a little bit and just tried to almost kind of tell them how to think a little bit. What are you thinking here? We play with them a lot. Coach Aaron O'Callahan, Irish under 18 boys champion, and he's still a really good player. He's much younger than me, and we play with him all the time. And I'll ask, all right, what was your thought on that shot? What was your, and if they say what they, they give me their thoughts, I'm like, that's exactly the way you should have been thinking. I'm not there to criticize them. I'm saying, hey, this is good, this is good, this is good. But here's an area where I've noticed, I've watched you play, you haven't gotten up and down out of one bunker, or you haven't hit one wedge close. So then we tailor their practice a little bit towards, let's make that area of their life or that game, their game, a little better. And so I would say I'm a player's coach. I'm not going to make you run if you miss a 3-footer, because I mean, shoot, I've missed 100 3-footers. I realize the game. I know it's very hard inside the rope. It looks so easy walking outside, but when your stomach's churning in there and your nerves are going and your palms are sweaty, really hard to make something happen for your team and for yourself and for your university. It gets pretty overwhelming.
Well, Coach, 2 things. First of all, you would never see my swing. I'm not going to expose you to that disaster.
I bet it's better than you. Not as good as you think, but I bet it's better than you think. So
I've seen it. It's pretty bad. Yeah. It's pretty bad.
And we'll do a trade-off here. You come up, we'll put it on video, and no one will see it but you and I, and we'll see if we can't help you a little bit.
I'll think about that one.
Okay.
So, Coach, as a parent, if I'm sending my son to Wake Forest to play golf, and I'm trusting you to help develop this young man, what would you say to me as a parent if you're sitting in my living room talking about the program? What would you say to me about your coaching style and the university and what my son is getting ready to endure?
Well, number one, he's going to have a lot of responsibility as far as schoolwork and university. And all of a sudden he's thrown into an environment where these 4 years of college is the hardest he'll work at his game, whether it's football or basketball or golf in this case. These are the 4 years, and I'm going to hold him accountable. I'm going to, it does me no good to, oh, Kevin, you're doing fantastic, and just, stroke their ego and, gosh, you're doing just so good, when I know that there's an area that they can get better at. And some of them, they feel like you're nitpicking at them, or you're being, but I'm not being that at all. I'm trying to help them and guide them in an area that, and some maybe take it better than others, and some take a while to get it. Some get it really early, and then they carry it with them. And some might not get it till they call you when they're 30 years old and say, man, I see what you're trying to say. So it's, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to say, I'm going to expect them to go to class. I'm going to expect them to be responsible. I'm going to expect them to be on time, to answer emails, I don't think there's a better mirror of life than professional golf or golf, in my opinion. Now, maybe it's because I played golf and been around, but you have to be on time. You have to be prepared. You have to be ready. You have to, around a golf, the first hole, all of a sudden I hit it in the rough. Now I have a crisis or a situation I have to deal with. And then that one goes wherever. Now I got another. You just deal with so many little scenarios, much like being married, or much like, the social, or just life. Arnold Palmer was obviously got golf going and made it cool. And if the parents kind of know about Arnold Palmer and know about the history of Wake Forest golf, I have a really good chance to get that young man to come. If they think Arnold Palmer's a drink, then the kids don't know where, they're all about, some kids are all about taking the shortcut and, I don't have a class, I can go there, there's 300 people, I can just go eat breakfast, I can take online classes. Mm-hmm. That's not going to happen at Wake Forest. And I try to set that boundary right up front, so that way they're not shocked, like, oh man, this is hard. Well, yeah, it's hard. But I recruited against Duke, Virginia, Vanderbilt, Stanford, Georgia Tech. We kind of look for that kid because I want to put a young man in a situation that he can excel in. If you're a very poor student, Wake Forest is probably not the spot for you. It's gonna take so much of your time and your energy to try to pass that's just going to take away from your athletic development. You
Mm-hmm.
want to put it in the right situation. I've had many where I'm like, boy, this kid's really good and I really like him, but he's just really, it's going to be a struggle for him. And I don't want to see, I'm okay to go somewhere else because I've done it long enough. If you miss one, you end up getting another one, and he ends up being better than the other one for whatever. Just, it kind of works that way.
What is your coaching philosophy in terms of how you approach the game as a coach?
I would say I always refer to it as kind of like, animals in the wild a little bit. Some survive, some make it, and some don't, or for whatever. So I always tell the young, we have currently 11 guys on the team. Look, if you don't want to work at it, or you're going to have problems, or you're going to fight the system, or you're going to do whatever, and you're not going to try to get better, that just makes it easier for the other guys on the team. So continue to try to get yourself better, because even if you're the guy that feels like he's towards the end, you're still pushing those guys ahead of you. And those guys everybody's kind of pushing everybody. So to have young players that are good pushing the older guys, that keeps the older guys on their toes, but it also bodes really well for our future as we move on, because eventually, like every sport, guys graduate. Now somebody has to step in, and you hope that we prepared them. And the school does that a lot. Wake Forest does that a lot. Just prepares you for the mental and the kind of physical battle of what you'll deal with as a student athlete. So it's I kind of give them enough rope, if you will, and see what they do with it, and hopefully they do the right things. And if there's always examples, as you know, you played. There's always examples in front of you of why that guy's successful. Now, I don't want to be like him, but a lot what he does in his life makes him successful. So if you could do the little things and, maybe make your life a little bit more organized over here, it might help you on the course. So I've always said this about recruiting golf, though. If you're 6'5" and 240 and you're going to be my tight end, and all of a sudden you get to campus and you can't catch, outside linebacker, or something, right?
Yeah.
But in golf, you recruit them, and boy, something goes wrong. They get a bad lesson, or they just lose confidence, or then you spend, most of your time trying to do the damage control there and make them really good and get them in as a better player. So,
well, Coach, you mentioned Arnold Palmer, and I want to get your perspective on the impact of the Arnold Palmer Golf Complex and the upgrading of that facility, and what that has meant to the golf program, and how it has helped continue to be that building block for sustainable success.
It's been a couple things. It's I feel like we have the best on-campus facility on the East Coast. To be upfront and very, very frank about it. If we can get kids here to take a look, they're like, holy cow, this is really good. But it's also been our Excellence Fund. It's been the donors. It's been the people that have supported the golf program that have made this available by funding and by donations. And therefore, we end up being a really good resource for them to put their energy and their money into a place where the facility can grow. We've got 2 bent grass greens, we've got 2 Bermuda greens, we've got all kinds of areas where we can make our facility better. We're going to try to improve our range every year. We make the practice facility nice. We provide them with all the technical things you have, the putt view system. And then you got the Arnold Palmer statue out front, locker rooms. It's a very good atmosphere and a good environment for them to come. And it's so easily, conveniently located on campus that boom, right there, they go to their locker, they're out on the thing they can hit. They can go to Old Town, they go to Forsyth, they go to Bermuda Run. And there's a lot of for them to play and get better. So,
well, Coach, kind of give Deacon Nation an update on the golf program, where it is. I know you've there's some tournaments coming up and some opportunities, and then you're getting prepared for the fall. Kind of give everyone an update on where the program is and what we have to look forward to coming up from the golf team.
Yeah, we're getting ready. We've been playing this week a little bit. We play Monday and Tuesday, the 7th and 8th, down in Pinehurst at an event that we host. And it's a really nice field this year. We have Clemson, we have NC State, Duke, East Carolina, Wake. San Francisco is actually coming all the way from the West Coast. They have a very good golf program. And, we have 12 teams that'll play, 36 on Monday and then 18 on Tuesday. The weather looks fantastic. We're defending champions, and Michael Brennan, a sophomore from Leesburg, he's the defending individual champion. So we played very poorly last event, probably one of our worst events we've had in several years. So we're looking to get back in our winning ways, if you will, and we'll be the highest ranked team there. So, the pressure will be on us, but we need that pressure. We want that feeling that, hey, we've got to perform, because as you move on to ACC and regionals, NCAA, you can't fake it around there. You got to be mentally ready and physically prepared to do battle. The ACC, we had 10 teams last year make it to postseason. So we have a great conference for not only golf, but all our sports. So it's a pleasure to be in the ACC, but it's also, it's an honor and a privilege, and to be Wake Forest and the Demon Deacons. And I take that very, very proud to be a Deacon. I take that to heart, and I want our players to perform and act like they should. I've had them around donors, and they're like, man, these kids are very, very well behaved, very well spoken. I'm like, absolutely, that's exactly what I want. And you have to give back to a little bit. I used to tell Will Zalatoris, the more you give of yourself, the more you get in return. It's just the way it works in life. And my dad always says it costs nothing to be nice to someone. And I kind of want the players to take a few minutes and talk to people, and to come out of their shell a little bit. It'll help in many ways. It'll open so many doors.
So, Coach, I want to ask you something. When you look at the rich tradition of Wake Forest golf, you mentioned when you go on recruiter visits, you help to, remind people of Wake Forest golf tradition. A part of that tradition has been the Haas name, whether it's yourself, your brother, and the success that he had, your success, and then your nephew's success, and even your brother-in-law.
And my brother-in-law, Dillard Pruitt. Yeah, he was a fantastic tour player himself.
So how does that feel when you look back across Wake Forest history and that sustained success, and you see the Haas name being a part of it throughout the generations? How does that make you feel?
No one's ever really, Kevin, that's kind of I walk outside and we have the Haas family range, and I see a picture of my uncle and my brother and my nephew and myself. And I'm very, very honored to be a Demon Deacon. I am so proud that I came to this school. I think as a fellow Demon Deacon, people don't understand what you're talking about. And I saw a great example the other day. If you pass somebody in the airport and they got the WF on, you say, "Go Deacs."
Go Deacs.
And then you usually stop and you talk to them because, I had class with them, or somebody, other schools I think are just so big. He's like, "Oh, hey, what's up? Go buy it." Just keep going, right? You'll say, hey, you'll give the cry of your school, but you won't actually stop. And I think that's the thing, because the classes are smaller. Everybody kind of takes an interest, whether you play a sport or not. Oh man, I had class with that kid. What a nice young man. Oh yeah, this or that, or what a nice young lady. So I've never really, I think it's probably my upbringing, very humble. My uncle was a great champion and a humble man. And my brother Jay he's made the most cuts on the PGA Tour history, a record I don't feel will ever be broken, because guys don't play as much anymore. And then my nephew, Bill, he's a 6-time winner on the PGA Tour. He hit that incredible shot out of the water. And they consider it probably the most clutch shot in the history of golf. And he won the $10 million FedEx Cup and won that tournament as well. And he's been a great player and starting to get his game back a little bit. He's 39 years old now, so he's getting older. It's hard to believe he's been out that long. And I always tell people I'm the D player in the family. So uncle and my brother and then nephew Bill. And then I said, but I'm a pretty good D. You might want to pick me up as your D. Not bad. So.
And please, Deacon Nation, make sure you go out and learn this history of Wake Forest golf and the Haas name. I mean, Coach Haas is you're really. I know you're humble, and that's great. But you're talking about a brother that was a part of back-to-back national championships. You're all ACC, all American, great career on the tour. I mean, it is. Wake Forest. I feel blessed as a former Demon Deacon to have people like yourself and your family that have been a part of helping establish such a strong, not just golf tradition, but contributing to the overall tradition of Wake Forest and Wake Forest athletics. So I appreciate what you're doing and what you have done. And one last question I want to ask you, Coach. You've had 25 years of success. How were you able to do it? What's your secret? Is it something that you eat? What is it? What is it that you do to create such great success over the long term?
I think you have to recruit the right people, number one.
Yeah.
You have to share that vision or that goal that in a small way, I lived through them a little bit. I had my cup of coffee out there and I want to see them do more than I did and be a great player and be successful. And the passion to teach the game, the passion to be around young people. I have energy. I love that. I love watching them play. It makes me smile when you see kids improving and performing. And at the same time, it makes me, it makes me lay there and think, all right, how am I going to help that kid that's struggling a little bit? You have to have good players. When for a while there, we weren't quite getting the recruits. Well, you guys aren't ranked high enough. And I kept saying, well, we will be ranked higher if you come and play for us. And it kind of started with Will Zalatoris. We kind of got it going the right direction. And he came and he turned out to be a fantastic player. And then Cameron Young had a chance to go many other places, but chose Wake Forest and loved his time here. And so then other kids start seeing, hey, these guys are pretty good. So that helps you attract some of the better players. And some don't want to go here. That's fine. Some have their heart set to go to wherever they want to go. And that's great too. So I tell the players, look around. You have an unbelievable practice facility. You have an unbelievable university. I don't want to hear what others have. Let's talk about what we have and let's be appreciative of that and not I don't want to hear comparisons. So
Coach, that's awesome. I know you got to run. I appreciate you taking the time out to share your story and to talk about the traditions of Wake Forest golf and to share with Deacon Nation a little bit more about you and your coaching philosophy, and appreciate the program update. Any advice you want to share with a student athlete coming out of high school and they want to go to college and they want to play golf at a high level? What advice would you give them?
I would say my best advice was they need to do their own research. They need to be their own man or their own woman in trying to decide where they want to go. Too often I see it that the parents do we did this and we did that, and they do all the work for the kid. And that almost sets them up for failure a little bit. They should have to do their own work and kind of say, hey, this team has got a bunch of seniors. There might be a spot there or this there. They need to reach out to the coaches. It's all about, I know there's not much time in the day and I don't have enough time, but you need to find time to recruit yourself, to make yourself marketable, to let coaches know that you're interested. I hear about it so many times. Oh, well, he was really interested. I'm like, but I never knew that. He never showed any, any straightforwardness or whatever the word you want to use, that he never got to me that, hey, I wanted to do that. And you find out later. The transfer portal is, it could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. Some kids go somewhere and they don't like it. And with the pandemic, that's kind of made recruiting difficult as well. So you really have to market yourself and take care of business and be upfront. That shows at that coach, whatever sport, that, hey, this kid can handle when he gets here to school. He's a self-starter. He did all the things that, you know, we normally have to hold hands and do. This guy or girl got it done. So I'd say the number one thing is there's way too much parent involvement. The parents are great. Don't get me wrong, but you kind of know what you're getting by how the kid handles himself before he even gets here.
Coach, that's awesome. Again, thank you for taking the time to come on to the Deac2Deac podcast and share your story.
Kevin, this was great. I really appreciate you having me on, number one. And I'm so proud to be a Demon Deacon, and looking forward.